All right. Live again. It has been a minute. Hey, Dave.
Hey, how are you?
Very good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been so long. It's been 20 minutes since I saw
Yeah,
Dave.
at least. At least. Yeah.
All right. So I can see some people are starting to join. Well, that's awesome. So this is the NFT 101 crash course for wine lovers. I am joined by Garrett, who is, and Dave's going to blush when I say this, a tech and wine guru, thought leader in the space for sure. Look at his reaction. You're so humble.
Yeah, well,
The
thank you.
co-founder of Divin, which is a project that we've been working on together for over a year. Really, really exciting global NFT wine club. We'll get more into that a little bit later, but first let's just start explaining what NFTs are, because there's so much chatter about this in the wine space, and I think it's intimidating for a lot of people. Anything to do with blockchain or the word crypto comes out, especially in the last few months, it's been turbulent, and there's a lot of speculation attached to the word NFT. So let's just start with the very, very basics and get down to why, if you're a wine fan, you should care what an NFT is, because you should, and just let's skip all the intimidating stuff and get right down to it. What do you think, Dave? Ready?
Sure. No, that sounds great. That sounds great. Thanks, Jana.
Cool. Okay, so first question, very basic. What is an NFT, Dave?
All right. What is an NFT? So an NFT stands for non-fungible token, which is kind of scary. And honest to God, that terminology is going to go away very soon. I don't know if you remember early days of the internet. People used to say HTTP : / whenever you were going to tell someone where to go, which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Again, very scary. T stands for non-fungible token. My guess is within a year, no one will ever say NFT again. They'll say token, or they'll just be talking about digital collectibles. The reason that they call it an NFT is because it's distinct from a fungible token. So everyone has heard of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So Bitcoin is a fungible token. What an NFT is a non-fungible token. And Jenna, you had a really good analogy for that you were saying the other day. Can you give us the analogy?
It's not even mine. I got it from a podcast that I listened to last year. But yeah, so basically fungible is like two $100 bills, right? We could trade, and it doesn't matter to the wine shop owner which one I give you because it's not unique. So it's worth the same thing. And non-fungible would be something unique, like a one-of-a-kind baseball card, right? So that's my layman's terms analogy. What do you think? Does that make sense?
I think that's really good. That's really good. Now, what's interesting about the blockchain, and what's interesting about NFTs or even fungible tokens, is that the blockchain is really, more than anything else, it's just an immutable register of transactions. That sounds, again, like a bunch of big words. But the best example that I can give is it's really similar to the register or the records that they would keep at the real estate office. So, if you were to sell your house to me, then we would go down to the land records office and the local land records office, and they would pull out a big book. And in that book, they would cross off your name and they would add my name, right? That's what would happen in that big register. That's actually kind of the earliest blockchain, right? Those early real estate registers. And that's really what's happening with an NFT, right? If you have an NFT, it's a non-fungible token. Let's say that it represents, in the most basic terms, people talk about NFTs like they call them overpriced JPEGs, like Bored Apes or Mutant Apes or CryptoPunks. Well, it's really not the image itself that is the NFT. It's the deed of ownership to the image that is the NFT, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, overpriced JPEGs, all the speculative, make money quick, buy this piece of...
Yeah.
So that stuff aside, an NFT is a deed of ownership that lives on the blockchain.
That's
Public,
exactly right.
Transparent, immutable.
Yep, exactly right. It's a deed of ownership over a digital item, or as we'll talk about later, it can be a deed of ownership over a physical item as well.
And this is one of
Or
my favorite.
phygital. Yeah, phygital, which is both physical and digital. Sure.
Okay, so we kind of covered the basics. I'm going to post this later, so if you guys need to go back and just go back over it, it'll be easy. So why should anyone who's interested in wine, whether you're a collector or just a wine fan, why should I care if my wine has an NFT attached to it or if my wine has a deed of ownership?
So here's why it's interesting for wine. There's a couple of reasons. So in the beginning, for right now, it's really primarily interesting for wines that are collectible or investment grade, right? So wines that, that's about 2% of the global wine industry. It's typically wines that will cost more than $100 when you buy them at retail, and typically wines that will go up in value. So it's a really small percentage of the wines that are out there, and that's really where the NFT or where blockchain is focused right now in the wine industry. And I think I'll go through this NFT 101. We'll start to learn about a lot more use cases and a lot more value propositions that NFTs bring to wine. But right now, what it does is it gives you a deed of ownership over your bottle, which you never had before, right? Like if you bought a bottle of 1982 Chateau Margaux, you don't have a deed of ownership over that. You might have a receipt, maybe, and that receipt could be, maybe that's legit, maybe that's fake. What you have with an NFT is you have an immutable record that you own that bottle. And what's interesting about that is it's just like at the real estate office, right? You can see who owned it before you and who owned it before them and who owned it before them, all the way back to the winery. And that kind of gives you that anti-fraud, anti-counterfeit protection and a deed of ownership.
Yeah, so for everyone who's watching, this is the first of many to come, many crash courses. We're going to be doing these Mondays and Fridays. And next week's topic goes beyond what Dave is explaining right now with this deed of ownership and this public ledger, and where you just touched on disincentive to fraud. So proof of provenance, chain of custody, all of those things we're going to talk about next week.
But transparency.
Transparency, yeah. Okay, all right. So deed of ownership for my wine. So let's say I have a bottle of wine and I want to somehow connect it to the blockchain or put it on chain. Like, how does this work? It's hard to imagine.
So right now, we're primarily just working with the wineries themselves. So we'll work with the winemaker. We'll attach an NFT to their bottles. And we'll do that. The easy way to do that is we just take the serial number for that particular bottle of wine and we'll create an NFT. So we have these special NFTs that we create, and how we'll attach the two is either with a QR code or with an NFC sticker, which is kind of like the chip that's in your credit card when you tap to pay, that kind of sticker. So that way you can go easily back and forth between the physical item and the digital deed of ownership.
Right. Okay, so you'll be able to, hypothetically, interact with a piece of hardware that's on the bottle of wine through near field communication NFC technology to connect with the NFT, to be able to open up that journey of the wine so you can see the ledger everywhere it's in.
Yep, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Okay, and obviously I'm pretending as though I don't know what it is, but tell us, Dave, what is a digital cork?
Digital cork. So we at Club Divin have created a special kind of NFT that we call a digital cork. And the digital cork is basically like a digital twin or that deed of ownership over that unique bottle. So what's interesting about a digital cork and why the blockchain is really the next version of your real estate ledger, right, is that instead of it just being a simple note in the blockchain, it's actually, you can take a contract and put it on the blockchain, right? So you can take a piece of software, we call it a smart contract, and that smart contract has rules for how that particular deed of ownership is transacted, for how it behaves on the blockchain. So we added a few really special things to the digital cork NFT. One of them is chain of custody. So chain of ownership is sort of built in, just like, your real estate, right? And if you buy a house, chain of ownership is what's on the real estate ledger. But
Right.
chain of custody is also very interesting, right? Because you might own that bottle, but instead of it being in your personal cellar, maybe it's a Bordeaux city bond, right? So maybe it's being held for you in a bonded warehouse rather than in your personal cellar. So
Right.
from our perspective, what's interesting is we want to make sure that we're not only tracking the ownership of that bottle, but for provenance reasons, we're also tracking the custody. So we're able to keep information on the blockchain that not only tells you who owns that bottle, but where it is in the world. Because you might find a bottle to be more valuable if instead of being held in someone's private cellar for 10 years, it's being held in a bonded warehouse with perfect provenance.
Definitely. So in the future, then, what I imagine is that bottles of wine that have NFTs attached, where there's that perfect chain of custody, where I can see the whole journey of the wine, compared to if I was buying a wine where I don't know where it's been. Maybe someone tells me that it's only traded hands twice. But if I can actually see that proven, verified journey of the bottle, and I can see that it's only been sitting in a bonded warehouse, I'm going to pay a lot more money for that bottle of wine.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So that's one thing that we've done that makes digital Cork special, right? We've added that chain of custody. The other thing that we've added, which is pretty interesting, is really unique to wine. So there are lots of physical items that you might want to attach an NFT to. Like, for example, every Breitling watch and soon every Rolex watch will have an NFT attached. I think Philip Patek as well. So they're attaching NFTs that will serve as a proof of ownership, a certificate of authenticity, and will also provide chain of ownership for that particular watch. There's art that does the same thing. What's interesting and unique about wine is, unlike art and unlike watches, you can consume wine.
Yeah.
You drink it, right? And that's really unique among other luxury items. And so what we've built that's pretty interesting, and again, we'll get to this in later sessions, is a way for you to open the bottle and tell the world, or at least post to the blockchain, that you've opened that bottle of wine and the bottle is no longer authentic, right? Because it's now been opened and there's one less of those bottles in the world. And that's pretty interesting. And that's something that we do that nobody else does. We at Club Divin.
Good. Okay, awesome. So we've covered what a digital cork is. There's a lot more to it. And again, we will be doing many of these sessions until the end of March, so twice a week. But okay, let's talk a little bit about financialization and the market.
Sure. So there are some investments that you have, or most investments that you have, that have a pretty liquid market, right? It's very easy for you to see what it's worth, whether you're talking about real estate or gold or stocks and bonds, even to a certain extent watches, right? There's an open market. You can kind of know what that's worth. With investment grade wine, it doesn't really exist. There isn't so much a liquid market. And because of that, it's very difficult to do really standard things that you would do with other investments, right? It's hard to insure wine. If you've got a $100,000 wine cellar, it's very difficult to insure in a way that's really effective and interesting. It's also difficult to leverage it. For example, most investment products, whether it's your house or stocks and bonds, you can borrow against those and have a better yield on your investment. With wine, that's very, very difficult, if not impossible to do. And what's interesting about the blockchain, or what's interesting about having a deed of ownership for your wine and having NFTs that represent those deeds of ownership that trade on a marketplace, is now you know what the liquidity is. You know how much someone is willing to pay for that bottle at any given time. And with that, it becomes much easier to create insurance products. It becomes much easier to lending and other financialization to wine investing. And because it's such a big market, you're talking about an $8 billion a year. They think that there's, nobody knows for sure, but they think that there's somewhere in the neighborhood of $400 billion worth of investment grade wine out there in the marketplace. That's a huge market. And it's silly for not to be able to basically trade it or work with it like it's a traditional investment product.
Right. Man, that's crazy. So do you think it's inevitable then that this is the way the whole wine industry is moving?
I think certainly in the investment grade space, we talk to wineries every day, and the big wineries, the wineries that create kind of this collectible and investment grade wine, all of them know that this is coming, and they're all looking at different ways to do it. And we're doing pilot programs with dozens of wineries this year that are experimenting with NFTs and experimenting with digital corks. So yeah, I think it's probably the way. It's probably not going to look anything like what it looks today, in the same way that the internet looks very different today than it did 20 years ago. But clearly, we think that investment grade and collectible wine will be on the blockchain. Those wine, you will have a deed of ownership on the blockchain for not just your luxury wine, but probably every luxury or investment grade product that you have, you'll have an NFT for that will serve different purposes. Proof of ownership, maybe your warranty, maybe the ability to be able to trade. It'll have a lot of different things.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I wanted to keep this under 15 minutes, and I knew we wouldn't be able to. So let's just talk quickly about what Club Divin actually is.
Sure.
So what is Club Divin to you, Dave?
So Club Divin is a platform for wineries and winemakers to attach NFTs or to put their wines on the blockchain, and all of the benefits that come with that. Everything from liquidity, creating a better and more transparent market for wines, being community, data, being able to connect with winemakers. There's a whole bunch of things that come with that are real benefits to the winemaker. So that's the long-term goal. In the short term, Club Divin, our members, are going to have the first crack at all of these cool things that we're doing. So they'll own the first digital corks. They'll get to work with, all the wineries that we work with are offering us really interesting, fun, both rare wine drops and also cool experiences that are going to be associated with NFTs. And so our members are going to get first crack at those things. And if you talk to any of our members, they all are over the moon with the access that they're getting because they're a member of Club Divin. Think about it like, it's like a super club, right? It's your skeleton key to all of the great winemakers in the world.
I think that's the best thing to describe it, the skeleton key. It's like the club of clubs in the wine world. So basically giving people insider access everywhere.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. So I wonder if we've got any of our members actually watching. Hopefully, if so, you guys are the true early adopters of this technology. So that's awesome. And being a part of Club Divin is really cool because right now we're really new. So we launched in the last year. What was it, February last year?
Well, February last year, we kind of started, we had our first event, and then our public launch was really in May, or our friends and family launch was in May of last year. So we haven't been around for that long, but we've done a lot of things.
Yeah, I know. We did events in 38 cities last year. I know because I was at most of them.
Yeah. A lot of airline miles.
A lot of airline miles. Yeah, that's a good perk. Speaking of airline miles, we'll get into a talk about loyalty and Web3 in the coming weeks, and that one you guys should not miss. Really interesting there. But so Friends and Family was an offer that we put out when we launched, and it's going to be ending soon. It's actually ending at the end of March. So it's basically been sip your way into the club by getting a token from an existing member. So it's been really, really exclusive and closed. And, we're new, so we're learning with our members and we're learning with our partner wineries and everything. So it's been a really interesting journey this far. And we're really excited for what's to come. Events and all the benefits that we offer at Club Divin are truly exciting if you're a wine geek. Like Dave was mentioning earlier, we do wine drops. So with our partner wineries, and we offer really cool old library releases at unbeatable prices, sourced directly from the winery. That's for members only. We do really cool events all over the world. And we have this incredible group of founding members who use their own connections to get our members in wherever they want to go anywhere in the wine world. So really cool. And the time is ending for you to get in on this offer. So as friends of the Wine Girl, you can DM me and let me know if you're interested in the club. We've got lots of information for you. We're going to be doing some information sessions. We're going to be doing one of them on March 15th and another one on March 27th, where you'll be able to actually come in. It'll be a longer discussion with Dave and I. You'll be able to actually claim a token. If you think that's intimidating, don't worry. It takes like 10 seconds, Dave. Super slick.
15 seconds, yeah. Super fast.
Yeah. It's really cool, and it'll definitely get you more comfortable with this kind of intersection of wine and Web3, if you will. But absolutely no need to feel like you have to know anything about crypto or blockchain to engage with the club. It's a wine club, first and foremost. And yeah, this friends and family closing offer, so March 30th it ends. This is the last chance to save 50% on a lifetime membership. So memberships are actually forever. So we imagine that people will pass this down through the generations. That's an asset, so it's transferable. You can really pass it down, or if you feel like you're not using it, you can sell it. But we suggest you pass it down because it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Exactly.
Yeah, so information sessions happening March 15th and 27th. Next week's topic is going to be proof of provenance and chain of custody. So all of this disincentive to fraud topic for investment grade wines. Am I missing anything, Dave?
Nope. That's I think you got it all, and we're now way over. We're 10 minutes over, so why don't we tune back in next week?
Great. So tune in, guys, on Friday. Stay tuned on my posts and also on Club Divin's. Give Club Divin a follow if you're not following us already. Lots of really cool stuff there, and check out clubdivin.com if you want to learn more. We'll see you next Friday.
Hey,
Bye.
thanks, Jana. All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
See ya.